Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to Conservative Moms Unfiltered.
New location.
Yes, we are actually in my home today, probably for maybe the next couple, because our sponsor, Frontier Coffee, has just purchased a brand new building.
Yes.
They're in the middle of moving, and so this is just easier while they're setting up the studio at the new location.
They said it's more important to get coffee running again.
That's fair.
Than podcasting.
That pays for our studio and podcast, so
We'll
will
give them
let
that.
them slide over the next couple of weeks.
Exactly.
But we are super excited to be back with you guys. Special episode because, first of all, Trump has officially been in office for 100 days.
Crazy.
Do you feel like I know there's
like
been
we
a
have
lot
whiplash.
happen. There's been a lot happen.
Yeah.
But honestly, overall, I personally feel that my stress level has gone like this.
Oh, yeah.
In
I don't
the
think
world
the
of
Democrats
politics.
or the liberal stress level has gone
No,
down. They
definitely
are
not.
Like,
They're probably super heightened.
yeah.
But for us,
Yeah.
we've got some common sense
I
back, some normalcy.
Lots of great changes in the books
Yes.
and stuff. So
So it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you, this is a good segue for
Oh,
you.
no.
What is our favorite thing so far in the first 100 days? What do you think?
I mean, I think we should focus on Kennedy, to be honest.
Yes.
I mean,
I
I
like
think
it.
there's been so many good things that I'm pumped
And
about.
hilarious.
I think that's the
Yes.
humor
Yes.
on socials from the White House, Border Patrol, all of them.
So good.
It's so on point. Even
Yeah.
JD Vance's humor on his personal thing, all of them.
I think it brings a lightheartedness.
It does.
It brings a relatability.
Well, and it's so normal. And
Yes.
I think it was who's that late show host guy who was talking, and he's like, what makes people love him is he's so
Was it
relatable.
Bill Maher?
Yes, and he was just saying, like, he says what we all would say if we were having a
Correct.
normal conversation. And
Yes.
usually they are more, prim and proper, and they just say what they know they're allowed, what that's
Yeah.
scripted. And he goes off script and says exactly what we would say.
Yes.
Exactly.
Without all the fluff.
No, with
you
no
know.
thinking it through, he just says it, and we're like, that's exactly what we would say.
Exactly.
100%. That's what
And
we
I
would say.
love the dynamic change in having a family atmosphere.
My goodness,
everywhere.
I saw him getting a briefing yesterday from
Caroline
Caroline.
Levitt.
Yeah, I was like, that's your name, not her name.
Yeah.
And her holding her baby, and I'm just like, I
This is
love
great.
this. Or JD Vance trying to get that family picture in front of that Taj Mahal or whatever.
Yes.
So great.
And
so
we have
great.
an extra.
We do have an extra.
Oh,
Hi.
Finn. He's a very
Hi.
needy Bernedoodle, so I'm
He
sure
was
he'll
like,
make
"Shake my
several
hand."
appearances while we're doing the podcast. But yes, let's take off with Kennedy because I think that's a good starting point into.
And I really thought Kennedy would be the bridge between both sides, because I feel like what he was bringing to the table wasn't political.
Because
it felt like it wasn't political.
Well, it shouldn't be political,
Shouldn't be.
right? Like your health, our children's future and their health and on down the line should not be political whatsoever.
No.
But somehow the left has figured out a way to politicize
And
it
even
to
the
the
right,
nth degree.
to some degree, did, because so many didn't like Kennedy being a Democrat.
Right.
But I'm like, this is how you bridge the gap.
Yes.
Of differences.
Yes.
In a topic that shouldn't be political.
Because everyone, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're from, you should be able to sit down with a person from the opposite side,
Right.
be able to hold
Have
a
that
respectable conversation, and you should be able to find a couple of things
You would think.
you might not 100% agree on, but you could at least see eye to eye and like put yourself in the other person's shoes in.
Right. Especially when you look back at the Democratic Party a long time ago.
Yes.
They landed more where we are now.
They did.
They were the vegans, and they were the hippier
More
ones,
health conscious.
conscious, yeah.
Yes.
Save
Yes.
the earth, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they tended to lean towards that, and now,
It's totally flipped.
I mean, you get on TikTok in this subject,
Is the rabbit hole crazy?
it's scary.
Isn't that wild?
It blows my mind, yeah.
I mean, how can you take something as simple as We don't want synthetic chemical dyes, ingredients, things that are created in a lab that go into 99.9% of the food that most people consume. We just want that out.
And somehow it's, how dare you take my, even the water, how dare you take my fluoride? Where can I get fluoride to take? I'm like, it's a neurotoxin. What are you doing?
Yes. And the simple fact that if you go to Europe and multiple other countries outside of that,
no one has
there
that.
is nothing like the ingredients list that's in our American food system.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So what are we doing? Why can't Pepsi or Kellogg's or whoever it is just say, hey, you know what? We're going to pause the American version and implement the European version.
Yeah, because I was just saying that, like, Pepsi, Coke, we can go to our store because, I don't know, we just have a big influx.
Yeah.
And buy Mexican Pepsi. Or Mexican Coke. There's a line in the Mexican aisle at our grocery store, at Walmart, where you can buy those products that's from there. And if you look at the ingredients, it's literally 3 things.
No.
Yes, and then if you pull out one from ours and put it next to it, so like the Pepsi from Mexico has pure cane sugar.
Okay.
Ours is all artificial sweeteners.
Yes.
Like what? So it's not like they have to take their product and recreate it and try to come up with
figure out a solution. They've already done it.
They've already done it for all these other countries. So it's not. This is not hard.
No.
So why are we allowing it in our?
Right.
I don't know. I don't get
it.
It makes no sense to me when I get on there and I see the people ranting and raving about how dare he take their artificial things and all that. I'm just like, are we like in an alternate universe? This is not making sense.
Why you don't want to be healthy?
Yeah.
You don't want to curb chronic disease or childhood obesity
I can get the people that are anti-vax and all that.
Sure.
Like, that to me is separate.
It is. This is simple.
This is simple.
Do you know one of the things that I struggle the most with as a mom, which I'm sure you do too, especially young ones? My kids are around other kids. They pack their lunches, all of the things. I have such guilt for the things that my kids eat on a daily basis. And that's with me actually trying.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like, we have water, raw milk in that fridge. Yep. Okay, that's it. No soda. No, I'm not saying that they don't sometimes get those things. I'm making the point that we try to do like 80-20. Yeah. We control it more at our home, so that way if they go out to birthdays or school or whatever,
they can have
it's not so big of a deal.
Weirdos.
Yes, but I still struggle all the time when they're like, I want chips, I want this. It is a constant battle when some of this could very easily be eliminated if I just had a healthier option.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel bad about the soda that had 3 ingredients in it. Right. Now, they're still not going to get it every day or every week, but it's an easier yes for me than it is now. For sure. And so
I saw yesterday the PepsiCo, which that's so many drinks.
People don't realize.
No, I should have brought a list.
Yes.
It's hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of.
Yeah.
They under PepsiCo, there's so many companies.
Yeah.
Even some really healthy
well, there's
companies.
Don't quote, but when you're talking about vitamin water, Poppy, things like that.
All.
Yeah. This is under that umbrella.
Yeah. And they've announced that they're going to remove artificial ingredients by the end of 2025. I don't believe them. I think they're just going to put it under the guise of something else because, like natural flavors. Like, what the heck is natural flavors?
What does that even mean?
I mean, to me, that means like an orange was squeezed in there. But no, that's not. It's going to be those artificial ingredients somehow wrapped into that. So I don't trust them. But we were saying earlier how it doesn't matter what they do. We don't care. Right. We as moms don't care what PepsiCo does or any other company because we're already aware, watching our kids' food intake, looking at those ingredients, all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't matter whether they do it or they don't. It's not going to necessarily affect us.
But it's just wild that this continues to be such a back and forth. Yeah. Kennedy said in the press briefing yesterday with Trump, he said it is crazy because the soda companies were coming to them giving us pushback because DHS wants to take off soda and candy from the SNAP benefits program. So that would mean if you went to pay with your SNAP benefits, candy and sodas are not covered.
Which,
gosh, makes sense, doesn't it?
If we're going to give you money to buy food, then you should be buying food that's healthy, right? So that then we're not also paying for your medical bills from eating
It's a cycle, right? Yeah. And so the soda companies were giving them pushback saying, SNAP doesn't have anything to do with nutrition or health benefits. And Kennedy just said, the literal name means Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Yeah, we're supplementing nutrition.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you can't supplement soda for nutrition.
No. That has not one health benefit.
So with your own money that you barely have, you can buy apples and oranges and chicken and all that.
Yeah.
But with the free money we're going to give you, you can buy Oreos and candy and soda and, Tang and all the ick.
Gross.
Stuff. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
It is wild. So why don't we go back? I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You kick us off. No, that's not what I'm saying. You kick us off as to, I think this is a very good foundational piece for everyone to know how we both got started down this journey or path of just realizing
health and wellness.
Yes, that this needs to be a priority.
Yeah.
That what we eat, where we are, what's in our homes, all of these things has such a huge bearing on our future and our life. So why don't you just, however you want to segue into this, how you got started on this? Like when did you first realize this was something that was going to be a big deal for you?
My mom's, we started homeschooling when I was in 9th grade. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when they got into the homeschool realm is when our family switched gears to this more natural minded. Because in the homeschool realm back then, this is a long time ago.
Sure.
I'm old. I mean, when you think of 9th grade, that's a long time ago, man. Sheesh.
Yes.
And so in that realm, you had more of that kind of lifestyle. We started baking bread, things like that.
Yeah.
Not to the degree, we didn't have the internet.
Right.
It was just starting then.
Yes.
Like we were just getting that. So you didn't have all this information. So you were just learning that. And so, but from then, that's when it really started for us. So then when I got married and had my first, they were already in that swing of like learning. So I have a sister that's 2 years older than my oldest.
Okay.
So she's 20 years younger than me. So with her is when it really started. Like they did a home birth and they moved out in the country and they started growing their own food. And so that just really
snowballed
it into that. So then it went into like searching into vaccines, but we had to read books. Because the internet, we had the internet, but it wasn't loaded with this much information.
No, that stuff was hidden deep.
Away. You pretty much had like chat rooms.
Yes.
So you were learning from other people, and then you'd have to find books and stuff. I have papers that I've like printed out about vaccines and
with articles
that we saved.
Right.
I still have those. Somebody asked me the other day, "Can you give me information on ultrasounds?" I'm like, "Oh, I got a paper."
And they're like, "What?"
I could totally Google it now, but I have saved all those papers and I have all the books.
Yeah.
And so it really just for us started there. So then we didn't do any vaccines and we ate healthy and we baked our own bread and really tried as much as we could. We were super poor when my kids were little, so we were on SNAP benefits. They weren't called that though. And WIC and all that. And so at the time,
it made you be even more conscious.
Well, because I nurse my kids, people don't know this, but when you get WIC when they're on formula, you don't get hardly anything. You get formula on that.
Right.
When you are on WIC and you nurse, you get milk and eggs and carrots and tuna fish.
I didn't know that.
You get all this food to nurse mom.
Huh.
And then you also get stuff for baby.
Yeah.
You get so much more. I'm always like, people, man, if you just nurse your kids, man, you get way more WIC benefits.
That's a tip that people need to know.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing? Even if you supplement, you get so much more food.
That's amazing.
Because the goal is to nurse mom to feed baby.
Keep them.
Yeah, and then when the baby hits certain months, then they get like cereal and stuff like that. But yeah, so
That's
even
wild.
that was a healthy program at the time.
Yes.
So it just snowballed from there. And then I'm one of once I know something, I can never do it again. I remember we went on a field trip to like this sausage factory when I was like 15.
Oh no.
I've never eaten pork since. Yep, that was the end of that.
Never since. Painful.
Yeah, and so, but once I know something, hydrogenated oils. Once I learned what hydrogenated oils was, that has never been in my house a day since.
No.
High fructose corn syrup. Once you know, it's gone.
Yeah,
and that's just my personality.
Yeah,
there's lots of people that are not.
Well,
like
now
that.
especially, there's so many alternatives.
So many.
I mean, it might take an extra step.
For sure.
Or to go somewhere else.
Yeah, but as long as you shop with, if it has 5 ingredients or left, I'll buy it. Less, I'll buy it. Otherwise, I'm not buying it. It's way easier.
That's smart.
Yeah. Because it's really easy to look. I don't want to sit and read all those, but if I can quickly look.
And count to 5.
Yeah. Move on.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
See? Here you are now.
A lot easier. But, I mean, so it became a lifestyle. So my kids are all pretty good at it too. Like they don't question. They only drink water.
Yeah.
They've never drank soda. Mm-mm. None of them even like it. That's an acquired taste.
Yes.
100%. So if you go your whole life never drinking soda and then you drink soda, it is an acquired taste and it's terrible.
That's hilarious.
Where the kids that get it when they're 2 and they learn to do that, then they crave that. You know? So
yeah.
You have to go back to, we are the parent, and so what we bring in the house is what they are going to learn to eat.
Yes, I
and
totally
so
agree.
if your kid only eats chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, that's a you problem. Mm-hmm. That's not a kid problem. And you can be like, well, they have texture things. No, because then if you offer them things when they're first starting to eat that are all different textures, all different things, there's the rare occasion that for children, sure, of course. I'm not going to call out everyone, but for perfectly healthy, normal kids, they should be offered these things in the home, and then they'll eat so well.
Or, I mean, you do go through phases.
For sure.
Like my middle, we fed him everything under the sun, started backing off, and finally now, where he can make the choice himself as an almost 8-year-old, I'm like, listen, dude, you can either starve or you can eat what I made. Yeah. And I promise, if you don't eat dinner by breakfast, he's going to be ready to eat. Yeah. And
for sure, there are ranges of that scale.
But for the most part,
I can remember making salad. We eat salad every night at dinner.
Yeah.
When my kids were little, and as I was washing the lettuce, I would wash I'd pull the lettuce thing off so it's like this.
Oh, yeah.
And I would hand it to them. And then I'd continue. And then I would be cutting carrots, and then I'd hand them a carrot.
Yeah.
And by the time dinner started, they had snacked on their whole salad.
That's hilarious.
I didn't even have to give them salad on their plate because they'd eaten it all before they ever got it. But if they didn't eat goldfish or, the snacky things that then ruin their dinner.
Yes.
They ate those. And those are just little things,
Totally agree.
Kind of went off on a thing.
No, it's good though. It's good to know those tips and tricks that sometimes people just don't know. They didn't hear about. Yeah. And I always say you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Question everything.
Yes. And I think that's why, for us, both my parents worked growing up. Yeah. And we were in sports, and we probably, the goal was 2 to 3 family meals a week. Yeah. It was like if we could sit down as a family at the dinner table, we were winning. And it was more of like Southern meat, potatoes, and then a vegetable. There always was a vegetable, but that was pretty much the basic, at our home. And so when I married my husband, my soon-to-be brother-in-law was going through chiropractic school. Wow. And so that's how we started kind of hearing about alternative lifestyle choices.
Up, didn't live that lifestyle.
We were fully vaxxed, but again,
something different back then.
Meant 10, not 80.
I think mine was like 7.
And that was again like my mom was having kids in the 80s, where the big formula boom happened, and you just didn't question it. And so myself and my siblings all grew up on formula. Yeah. And it's so
crazy. My brother and I did. And we're the ones that are more like allergies, all that kind of stuff. And then my younger 2, they were not on formula, and they are definitely probably the healthier of us.
Yes.
And not that we're not healthy, but we just ended up with those things.
Different issues. Yeah. And so when my sister-in-law first got pregnant, who was married to my brother-in-law, the chiropractor, they were talking about not vaccinating their kids. That was really the first time in both sides of our families.
That's awesome.
And I was like,
what?
Brian, we cannot have our kids together. Like the whole, totally just what I heard, what I knew, all of the things. And probably for the first year of my niece's life, which I didn't have kids, you know, but we were talking about it. And so it was an ongoing conversation with my husband, like, oh, is this going to be bad? I mean, if they catch something from my kid, it just is what it is. The whole gamut, right? And so fast forward. Now, I will say this. When my sister-in-law was pregnant and went to have her baby, she did what was called hypno babies also. Mm-hmm. Totally free, medicated, unmedicated birth, like mom-led, all of the things. It was amazing. Worked perfect. I mean, you could not, just textbook perfect labor and delivery. And so for sure, I was like, I'm doing that. Yes, because, you know, you hear everybody's horror stories. They're in labor for 40 hours, and then they go back and get a C-section.
And then my last one was an emergency delivery, and that was the worst delivery of my life. And I'm like, I can't believe people pay to do this on purpose.
Right.
I was like, what? Like just to be induced, epidural, all the things, and I was miserable.
Yes.
It was the worst.
Yes. And so I just knew, my brain kind of started to say, like, maybe there's something better or easier, you know, whatever it is out there. And so that was kind of the first big push, was like being pregnant with Dawson. And when you go to Hypno Babies classes, they teach you all about choices, what it really means to do XYZ at the hospital. You actually can say no to whatever you want. And I was like,
I didn't know they did
this
that.
Is
I've heard of
awesome.
that.
Like, I can tell the doctors no.
Yeah.
I can tell them what I want. And it was so refreshing, because we went from being at a hospital. My husband was in the Army. So we were at an Army hospital, and I felt like a number in a turnstile.
Yeah. Being
pregnant with Dawson. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your baby. See you the next visit. And I just left, and I thought, this is my first baby.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
I want more time than this.
Can I like even sit and think with you for 5 minutes to even process what question I might have? And so going through Hypno Babies and that process, I was learning 100 times more what I did at a doctor's visit.
Do they still offer that now?
Yes.
They do.
Everywhere. East Tennessee, Knoxville, Chad. It's amazing.
Wow.
You can go on the Hypno Babies website now, put in your zip code, and it will show you the classes that are close.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers will even Zoom.
Oh, nice.
Which is, you really do want to try and do it.
3 of my 4 I had a birth center.
That's
so
awesome.
They don't offer anything. So I didn't have to worry about any of that, except for the one that had to be transferred.
But it was nice too, because I was at an Army hospital. You know, but I was able to walk in and say, this is my birth plan.
Yeah.
I've got it under control.
Yeah.
If I need you, I will call you.
I love that.
And that was that. And it's funny, because when I went into labor with Dawson, and the nurses told me this after the fact, they were like, oh, you walked in, said you were doing Hypno Babies. And they were like, yeah, right. Like in 15 minutes, she'll be asking for the medicine. And then afterwards, they were like, we've never seen that in our entire career.
That's crazy.
And I mean, it was uncomfortable. It was not painful. It was not some dramatic thing like you see on the movies or TV. That makes me so mad, because that is so not what it's like.
No.
It's not these bright lights and all. No. Like, legit.
It probably is somewhere, but.
Yeah. I mean, I told Ryan, I was like, I'm having this baby.
Yeah.
He was like, now? And I was like, oh yeah, right now.
Right now.
And he ran out in the hallway, yelled for a nurse to come in, legit turned back around, caught Dawson.
Nice.
And gave her to the nurse.
Yeah.
And the nurse was sitting there going,
what just happened?
Well, and I'm like, I told you we didn't need you.
Yeah.
We got it, you know? And each one of my kids was just easier than the next.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And so then, even when I had Dawson, she got 2 vaccines. And each time we went in, I just did not ever feel 100%.
Get that little check. Just
and it was just like, does she need it right now even?
Yeah.
You know, that's how it starts, right? Like, why don't I just pause? Why don't I, like, she never got any in the hospital, anything like that. I think she was like 6 months old. and received one, and I thought, so then I asked the pediatrician the next time, I said, can you separate them out?
Yeah.
Because, they get like 3 in 1 or whatever. She's like, well, that's just a long process. That's just da-da-da. And so then I go in, did the second one. She's like, okay, well, we should do one more while you're here. And then it was literally like a light bulb just went off, and I said, I'm done. Never again did we get another one. She didn't get another one. None of my boys have them.
Yeah.
And, then when you've retrained your brain, or when you grow up and your brain thinks in a way of, God created this perfect little body.
He didn't need men's help.
Does not need anybody else's help.
Nope.
Okay. He didn't just plop us on the earth and be like, you guys are going to fend for yourselves now. It didn't work like that.
No.
He created us to be able to fight off and figure out inside of our body and our systems to fight off disease.
And he knew what was coming. He
knew
that things would get stronger. He knew viruses would get stronger. He knows all that stuff.
Yes. And so when you think of it, like God designed your body to be healed, you didn't need, I take this from my friend Dr. Ben all the time. He cracks me up and he'll say, you don't need potions, lotions, pills, or anything else, which is true. We don't. And when you look at your body and your child as like, God gave us this gift. How can we keep it as healthy and working to the best of its ability as possible?
And I feel like we're called to that as Christians, to take care of ourselves. And and even if you are on the side that you want to give your kids vaccines, fine, but do the research ahead of time. Don't just do it because society says you have to do it.
No.
Which you don't have to do it. But don't just do it because that's the norm. Well, that's what everybody does. Everyone does this. Everyone has an autoimmune disorder, and everybody is allergic to peanuts, and everybody is...
when you think about, how do they say, well, we're going to pump your kid full of 8 shots or 8 things at a time, but you can only try one food at a time because you might have a reaction. How does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense. Not at all. And then they pump you through that, and then they say, go home and take Tylenol, which makes it 10 times worse.
I can't.
It's just like, no, we don't need to do any of that. So.
And, we teach our kids also that a headache or an earache, that is it's going to go away. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can handle it for a short amount of time.
I have a good friend that's a pediatrician, and anytime we would travel with camp and all that, and whenever the kid would have an ailment, she'd be like, how much water have you drank and when did you poop last? Those were always her 2 questions. Because 90% of these ailments would be cleared up really quickly with water or pooping.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, and they just don't do that anymore. They just treat and treat and treat and treat. And it's like, maybe we just deal with these 2 things, dehydration and digestion, and it probably will solve a lot.
Yeah. And, for us, which is, again, another gift, if one of my kids comes and they're like, I have a headache, my stomach hurts, I'm like, do you want me to put oils on you?
Yep.
And guess what?
Usually, there's a rare occasion, but for the most part,
yes. And so to have those tips and tools at your disposal instead of starting already, you are training your kid to think they need a pill or a potion or a lotion or whatever for every little thing.
Our motto in our house is be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
And so when we're proactively eating well, proactively exercising, proactively not bringing this crap in our house, then we curb off so many things.
Yeah.
But when we're eating crap and we have all these artificial and we're not working out or we're not doing all this, then all we get to do is react to all the ailments we're having. And then reacting is taking in medication, quick fixes, because we're reacting to all these things that would just be solved if you just proactively took care of yourself versus just reacting to what you've done to yourself.
Yes. And we even say to our kids, like, medicine on the shelf, I'm like, those are drugs.
Yes.
Like, you need to know that is for the last end all be all last resort. Because I'm not going to say, and I know you would not either, there is a time and place for modern medicine. Okay, we are not going to deny our children.
I have a child with a very severe heart disorder.
Yes,
we definitely
so you get it.
Yeah,
you know. But again, it's what can we do first? One, proactive, like you said, and then if we do have to be reactive, what do we have at our disposal that's natural to do at that point before you have to pull out?
When it's so crazy when you look at our society, and I know lots of people and they have kids and all that, and I watch their lifestyle, and in my mind I'm thinking, it's no wonder your kids have headaches, and no wonder your kids don't sleep, and like you run all the time. You are grabbing food on the go, all that, and that is just so not conducive to a healthy lifestyle. It's just not.
It's true.
And I know it doesn't work for everyone. There's some people that's just what it is.
Yeah.
But there are definitely things you can do to make it a little better.
Oh, I mean, it's painful when there are weeks where you're just on the go.
Lots of sports.
Yeah, and I can tell when it gets to the weekend, we all feel,
yeah, because we've eaten out too much, or we've grabbed things.
And Ryan and I are sitting here going, okay, what are we meal prepping this weekend to get us ready for the next week? You know, what are we fueling our body? Yeah. Are we getting enough rest? You know, those kinds of things.
Yeah. So things like Kennedy doing this is going to help everybody, because you'd be able to walk in the store and buy goldfish and know that they're not killing your kid with, you know.
Oh, just like for my
petroleum.
Yes. My local our Morristown friends, if you are on the East End, you know about Akita. Oh, yeah. Right? Everyone knows about Akita. Love Akita. But I always felt like the fried rice, it's so, you know, like greasy.
Yes.
Let me tell you what.
I won't eat there because it just makes me not feel great.
Okay. Well, you can get white rice, but also now you can request they cook it in only olive oil.
Really?
It is a game changer, friends. So my sister taught me this trick the other week. Our lives have been changed. Because, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's a keto or anywhere.
It's like delicious,
you
but
eat
then you feel bad. Yeah.
You're like, it's just not sit.
Especially for those of us that eat pretty clean. So then when we do eat that, we feel it. I mean,
but I always just get like the white rice, steak, and a vegetable.
Yeah.
Huh. Now you can cook it in olive oil.
That's good to know.
Not one problem.
That's pretty good.
Game changer. Hack, whatever you want to call it. But just those little things. If you can do that across the board, you know, if we know that the pretzels that we get the kids are not jam-packed of 40 ingredients, like I would sleep better at night knowing that that's what I'm offering them.
Exactly.
And I think the funny thing is, especially with social media now, everybody's pretty super connected.
Yeah.
It is so funny when you start talking about you and your, I love that they call it like an alternate lifestyle. I'm like,
that's just my normal lifestyle, but okay.
I don't feel like I'm rocking the boat eating healthy, but fine. Or, you know, not going to the doctor every 3 months, but whatever. But when you start sharing, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not jabbing my kids. The amount of messages that you get, like, tell me more.
Yeah.
Why are you not doing this?
I get messages all the time.
It's amazing.
And from like young 20s, just starting off, just having a baby, just getting married.
Yeah. I love it.
And I am loving it. I was like, this is my wheelhouse right here. Send me all the new, the ones that are just getting married, just about to have babies.
I had a mom, she's already was pregnant, fixing to give birth to her second child, called me. She was going to be, she was already in labor.
Yeah.
She went for her appointment, was in labor. So she went to go get her bags and they were going back to, you know, like have the baby. She calls me and she said, what do I do to make sure they do not jab my kid and do not give her formula at the hospital? And I was like, oh, yes. Ma'am. You call the right person. You know, and so you get to walk them through and just share with them and the husband that you have a choice.
Them.
You're the parent.
Work for you.
They do.
Yep.
And
I had one call me because they wouldn't let her leave because she didn't have a pediatrician appointment set up.
Yeah.
And she couldn't find a pediatrician that would take her without vaccinating.
Yes.
And I was like, just make an appointment. Don't tell her you're not vaccinated. And then when you leave the hospital, you cancel. But she's like, they won't let me leave. I said, just walk out.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's okay. They work for you. They cannot hold you in there because you don't have a pediatrician appointment.
Right.
I was like, but who cares? Make it a pediatrician appointment. Just then cancel
it. And then just don't go if you don't want to go.
You don't have to go. And if you can't find a pediatrician on the fly, don't worry about it. This baby's going to be perfectly fine. They're not going to let you leave the hospital if the baby's not fine.
When you start thinking about, okay, why am I taking my children to the doctor's office every 3 months for what?
Yeah.
I'm not jabbing them.
No.
They're healthy.
We don't go to well visits at all.
We don't go to well visits at all.
But we've been, because of Jet's heart, he goes yearly for his cardiologist appointment, but we don't have a primary care physician because we don't ever go.
Yeah.
So I need to take him to the ENT because he has a broken nose. Oh. And I needed a pediatric ENT because I took him to a regular one and it just, I wasn't happy with that. And the ENT, the pediatric, it wouldn't see me without a referral from his primary care. And I was like, what? I was like, we pay out of pocket. Like, it's not insurance. I could see insurance. They don't want you scamming them. So I had to take him to a primary care. Well, we hadn't been there in 6 years. No, 5 years. It was 2020. Yeah. It was like June of 2020. I took him there in the back door for them to stitch him up his hand because he sliced it open. But they let us go in the back door without a mask on so he can have that done. And I had to go and set up as a new patient. It cost me like almost $200. All the things. They didn't even do anything. They just gave me the referral.
That's wild.
And I'm like, well, since we're here, I want a sports physical signed for the year.
At least.
I want this.
I mean, seriously,
I was like, I'm paying $200 for the dumbest appointment ever.
That's crazy.
And I love who I went to. It's not that. It's just like, this is a scam.
Well, it is.
I just want to go to the ENT for the broken nose. I don't need you. And it's just the whole system is just so messed up. So
I mean, our chiropractor is on all of our paperwork for school and everything and everywhere else.
I don't think I could have gotten that for the ENT.
I mean, probably not the referral.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, okay, we go once a week, you know, to get adjusted. They make sure everything's good to go.
Yeah.
Listen, if they are running a fever, if they have the stomach bug, if they have a headache that won't go, that is where we go.
The other crazy thing is because I don't ever run to the doctor and I let viruses thing, I don't ever have doctor notes for school. I got called by the truancy officer.
No.
Yeah, because I didn't have enough doctor's notes and they only allow, I think, 4 parent notes.
That's crazy.
So if they're sick more than 4 times, then you can't write a parent note, but I'm not going to pay for a doctor visit for them to give me a note when he just has a virus. Yeah, I got called by the truancy officer because I would, and I'm like, what? So I have to pay to take my kid to the doctor to get a note for me to tell you that he's sick. This doesn't make sense to me. I'm like,
it is.
Okay. But it's like the whole system is screwed up. I'm like, I pay out of pocket. I'm not going to go pay $100 for you to say, yes, he has a virus. There's nothing we can do, but here's your doctor's note.
Right.
I'm not doing that. I was like, so, he missed his 10 days in the whole since the beginning of the year.
Where we go to school too, we don't have to worry about that because
they told me it's worse in high school next year because every class counts as 1. So if he misses a day and it's 4 classes, then that's 4 absences. And I was like, wait, what? I was like,
my gosh,
I feel like that doesn't work.
That's weird that it's not all just one day.
It should be 1 for that class, so you get
4 per class.
Yeah, or whatever. If it's 10 for the semester, then it should be 10 for the semester per class. Because I mean, he's sick in first period, but we're going to send him to second period.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
I sent him to school twice with a fever because he couldn't miss the class because they were on me. I was like, well,
what do you want me to do? So. Yeah. Thank you.
So the whole system is just craziness because they poison us with their food and thing, and then they want you to run to the doctor to be reactive to get a note.
Yes, and I think that again, it is so wild to me why we're not trying to work on these things, the broken system and the food and nutrition, and why there's not more of a spotlight on those issues and how they do relate to chronic disease, autoimmune, autism, because that's a whole thing that we already know.
That took a turn, man.
Why? Well, we know why. Because the system makes more money the more people that are sick, the longer that they stay sick, and the more medicines and surgeries that they are on and they need.
Yeah.
And that is just, it is what it is. Why, when we are the number one country that spends the most amount of money in healthcare, but when you look at it on a world scale of who's the healthiest country on down, are we at like 36
We're
or something?
Low.
So
real low.
That does not add up.
No.
That the math is not mathing.
No.
And
if you can go to Italy and eat bread and pasta and all the things and never gain a pound.
No, you actually lose weight.
You lose weight, and then you come to the United States, and I mean,
yes,
it's insane.
And so I think that being able to just share some of this information and kind of how we've implemented it into our own lives, how different things have played different parts, in light bulbs going off.
Yeah.
The way we think, being a bit rewired. Now it is.
It is so normal to us that I don't even think about things when I say it or that, and then people are like, wait, what? I said something the other day to someone, they're like, oh, you could put it in the microwave. It's like, oh, I don't have a microwave. And they went, what? And I was like,
yeah.
They're like, why don't you have a microwave? I was like, I haven't had a microwave in like 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do you heat stuff up? I was like,
on the stove.
The stove?
Yeah. On the stove.
The air fryer?
Yeah.
The toaster? Like, there's so many options.
So many options.
But to us, it's like second nature. Like, I don't even think about the things that people are like,
exactly.
What? The convenience things, I guess,
it
comes down to. So.
Well, and the whole way that we live, and when you look at, okay, for example, it was Easter. Was it 2 weeks?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
And of course, my kids got more candy than they ever get, you know, like on a holiday like that. And they were bananas.
Yeah.
Within 24 hours. Yeah. I'm talking like, obviously wired, which whatever. But then, Dad's home because Finn is losing his mind over there. But having a meltdown.
Yeah.
Super emotional. All of those things.
Yeah, they don't sleep good. They get headaches. Yeah,
and you just automatically
know.
Easter. Yes, because we don't eat like that on a regular basis. No. My kids don't behave like that on a regular basis. So it is easier for us to pinpoint.
You know exactly what it is. Yeah.
Well, they had jelly beans or a Capri Sun or whatever. He has
sweet tea, man. It'll be midnight. He's still wide awake. He's like, I can't sleep. And I'm like, that's a lot of caffeine.
You made a bad choice.
Yeah.
Yes. And so all of that, being able to take not only this information for us, but being able to implement it for our kids. Mm-hmm. And now it's crazy because yours are older than mine, but they are
25, 21. 14, so.
And then I'll start off 10, 7 and 6.
Yeah.
But they're all very much aware of their choices.
Yeah.
What food, medicine, all of that can do, good or bad, for your body.
Well, and I think that what Kennedy's doing, if we bring it back to him, is he's bringing awareness to the problem to people that didn't even know that was a problem. Like, what?
Yes.
That's a problem? Like,
what do you mean the food that you eat affects?
Goldfish I thought were so delicious. They're like the healthy thing we give it to our babies. It's really bringing awareness to that. And I think that that's what it, we can only reach so many.
Yes.
And so I think that's why we love this in the first 100 days, that this got addressed so quickly.
Much.
Like we knew it would, because Kennedy said it would, but would it? That's what it came down to.
It is true.
So I'm pretty excited about his whole movement, all the stuff he's doing for autism and that. So
I like it.
Yeah.
So we can deep dive into more of these things over the next few episodes too.
We'll put up some polls on Instagram.
That's a good idea. Okay.
What we should cover.
I like it. I like it.
Because between the two of us, man, we got some knowledge in here.
A lot that I think is really beneficial for so many.
Yeah.
So is this where we wrap?
I think so.
All right, friends. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap today. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
Do us a favor. This will majorly help us if you go onto Google and rate us. If you go onto Spotify and Apple Podcast, give us a 5-star review. It boosts us, get more eyes on the podcast. We would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, so good.
All right. Till next time. Bye, guys.